It all started on a crisp autumn day. My wife Emily and I had recently moved to a quaint town that seemed stuck in time, its charm evident in every cobbled street and antique shop. We were looking to furnish our new home with pieces that had a story, something with a history we could feel. Emily had always been fascinated by the past, by objects that carried a whisper of their previous owners. That's why we walked into that small, dusty antique shop. She was instantly drawn to the large, ornate mirror in the corner. It was beautiful, with an intricately carved frame that seemed to tell its own tale. The shop owner, an elderly woman with a gaze that seemed to pierce through to your soul, noticed our interest. She approached us, her voice a raspy whisper as she said, "That mirror is an old family heirloom. It's been in my family for generations, but it comes with a warning. You must never take it into your home." Emily and I exchanged curious glances. Warnings about cursed objects are usually just sales tactics, right? Or maybe it was the start of a ghost story meant to intrigue customers. We laughed it off, and despite the woman's protests, Emily insisted on buying the mirror. "It felt like it belonged with us," she said. "We took it home and hung it in our bedroom, its imposing presence dominating the room." At night, as we settled into bed, I couldn't shake the feelings that something was off. The mirror seemed to have a life of its own, its surface shimmering unnaturally in the moonlight. Around midnight, I woke up to a faint, almost inaudible whispering. It was so soft that I thought I might be imagining it. I looked over at Emily, asleep, and then at the mirror. In the dim light, saw reflection, but something wasn't right. My reflection moved, but it was lagging, as if caught in slow motion, its movements slightly out of sync with mine. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. The reflection was back to normal. Shaking off the eerie feeling, back to sleep, convincing myself it was just my mind playing tricks on me. The next few days were uneventful, and I almost forgot about that strange night. But Emily, she started to change. She would stare into the mirror for long periods, as if lost in its depths. One evening, I found her standing in front of it, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. "Mark, there's something wrong with this mirror," she whispered. "I see things in it, things that aren't there." I tried to reassure her, telling her it was just her imagination. But that night, I woke to the sound of whispering, louder this time. The mirror's surface seemed to ripple, and I saw our reflections, but they weren't just reflections anymore. They were watching us, their eyes following our every move, and then they smiled. I jolted awake, shaking, and tried to wake Emily, but she wouldn't stir. Her reflection, however, stared back at me, grinning maliciously. I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew we had to get rid of the mirror. The next morning, I told Emily about my experience. She was already pale and looked exhausted, as if she hadn't slept in days. We agreed to cover the mirror and call someone to take it away. That night, a heavy blanket over it, hoping to block whatever evil seemed to lurk within. But sleep didn't come easy. The whispering grew louder, now coming from beneath the blanket. It sounded like voices, not just one but many, murmuring in unison. I felt like they were calling to us, beckoning. I tossed and turned, my mind racing. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled the blanket off the mirror, hoping to confront whatever was haunting us. But what made my blood run cold. The mirror showed a scene that wasn't our bedroom. It was a dark, shadowy place, filled with eerie, flickering lights. I saw Emily lying on the bed, her body lifeless and covered in blood. My heart pounded as I looked at her, lying beside me, still breathing, still alive. But the mirror showed a different reality, a horrifying vision of what could be. Panicking, I threw the mirror to the ground, shattering it in pieces. Emily finally woke up, her eyes wide with fear. She looked at the broken shards and then at me, her voice trembling. "What did you see?" I couldn't bring myself to tell her. We decided to get rid of the pieces, hoping that would end our nightmare. But as we gathered them up, I noticed something chilling. Each fragment showed a different scene, dark and twisted, filled with images of death and despair. We buried the pieces far from us, hoping to leave the horror behind. But the terror didn't stop. Every reflective surface in our home, the windows, the picture frames, even the surface of the water in our sink, started to show the same disturbing images. Shadows moved where there should be none, and we could hear faint whispers whenever we were alone. Desperate, we sold the house and moved away, trying to escape the curse that had latched onto us. But wherever we went, the haunting followed. It was as if the mirror's curse had become a part of us, a dark shadow that we could never outrun. To this day, we still see those twisted reflections, those malevolent smiles, and hear the whispers in the dark. We've tried everything to break free, but it feels like the mirror's curse has bound us together, forever.